Hello Rockstars, I'm Allie, your Rockstar Bar Girl, and today we are going to be learning all about rocks drinks. A rocks drink is a drink that is made in a rocks glass and that contains all liquor and no mixers. If you don't remember all of the rules about a rocks glass, or if you don't remember what a rocks glass is, then definitely make sure that you go back and check out the glassware video. We'll tell you all about it. So rocks drinks are really common in a high volume environment. Just like your highball drinks, people are going to typically order them based on what's in them. For example, can I have a Ketel One vodka on the rocks? What they mean by that is simply take a rocks glass, fill it with ice, and add 1.5 ounces of your Ketel One vodka. Of course, if you don't remember how to pour 1.5 ounces, then go back and check out the pour video. Sometimes your customer might ask you to add a splash of a mixer, a soda or a juice, on top of that on the rocks pour. For example, can I have a vodka on the rocks with a splash of cranberry? When they say this, they're asking literally for just a splash of cranberry juice. It's going to add very little to the glass, very little difference to the drink, so you don't need to change your glass. A vodka on the rocks with a splash of cranberry is different from a vodka and cranberry, which would be a highball drink. So today, we're going to be talking about those on the rocks cocktails that you need to know. As I said, because your customer usually orders them based on what's inside of it, just like with your highball drinks, there isn't really that much to remember. A tequila on the rocks, a vodka on the rocks, a rum on the rocks with a splash of Coke. They're all going to go into a rocks glass filled with ice, 1.5 ounces of the liquor that was requested, and served. If they ask for a splash of something, add that splash and serve. They're very simple. But there are a few cocktails that have special names that you're going to want to memorize. Those drinks are the Black Russian, the Godmother, the Godfather, the Sicilian Kiss, the Stinger, and the Old Fashioned. And those are the drinks that we're going to go over today. An important note about the cost of rocks drinks before we get started with making them is that because an on the rocks pour is 1.5 ounces as opposed to the 1 ounce pour that goes into a highball cocktail, whenever you serve a liquor on the rocks, your bar is typically going to add an upcharge, somewhere around $2 or $3, to reflect the fact that there is more alcohol in that cocktail. Your customers are not bartenders, so they won't necessarily know that. Your rocks glass is shorter than a highball glass, which might lead some customers to make the wrong assumption that there's less alcohol in this glass. That is not true. Your rocks glass may be smaller than your highball glass, but the only reason why it's smaller is because the rocks glass is not intended for adding mixers. So because it's only going to have alcohol in it, it doesn't need to be a very big glass. So your rocks glasses are shorter than highball glasses, but they will have 1.5 ounces of liquor and therefore should cost more. So make sure that when someone orders a vodka on the rocks with a splash of cranberry, that you charge them that extra $2 or $3 and that you add that extra ½ ounce of vodka. If your customer doesn't understand that, just explain it to them. Once you tell them that there's more liquor inside, they'll stop complaining and understand why the drink costs more. Another important note about rocks glasses is that just like any glass, your bar or restaurant or club can decide to purchase any style of glass that they like. A rocks glass typically falls anywhere between 6 and 10 ounces in terms of the size of the glass. But as you can see from these two rocks glasses, they can be really dramatically different. All you have to do if you have a very small rocks glass is to simply add less ice. As long as you are adding 1.5 ounces of alcohol into that drink, then you're going to be just fine. The drink is going to come out tasting the way the customer expects. So smaller rocks glass, just add less ice. Make sure you get that whole 1.5 ounces in there. So we're going to get started with one of our most popular of our on the rocks cocktails, and that is the Black Russian. A Black Russian is made with vodka and coffee liqueur. An important note about the proportions of your liquor to your liqueurs is that when it comes to mixing liquors and liqueurs, you don't want your super sweet, flavorful liqueur to overpower your liquor. If you remember from your liqueurs video, liqueurs are like 30% sugar. They're really sweet and they're there to add flavor to your cocktail. Many of them are very low in alcohol, so while they're still alcoholic, they're not really intended necessarily to make up the alcoholic base of your cocktail. They're really there for sweetness and flavor. So, whenever I am combining a liquor, like vodka, gin, rum, etc., and a sweet liqueur, I want to add less of the liqueur. Your customer, when it comes to a Black Russian, is looking for a drink that tastes like coffee-flavored vodka, not coffee syrup with a little bit of vodka in it. Plus, the cost of the drink is going to be based on the cost of the vodka, not on the cost of the liqueur. So if the customer is paying for vodka, then they definitely want a cocktail that tastes like there's vodka in it. So, a rule of thumb, whenever you are combining a liquor and a liqueur, you are going to use a 4 count of your liquor and a 2 count of your liqueur. So that's 1 ounce of liquor and half an ounce of liqueur. This way, our coffee liqueur doesn't overpower the vodka, but instead just flavors the vodka and makes it taste like coffee. So let's make a Black Russian. We need a rocks glass filled with ice, as always. We always fill our glass all the way to the top with ice. We need 1 ounce of vodka. And we need half an ounce of a coffee liqueur. The most popular is Kahlua, but you might have a no-name brand coffee liqueur, or you might have some other brand. No garnish, straw, and serve. Black Russian. The next drink we're going to look at is called the Sicilian Kiss. And even though this drink isn't ordered a whole heck of a lot in a high volume setting, it's an important drink for us to go over because it shows us the second important rule of thumb that we need to think about when it comes to rocks drinks. So with the Black Russian, we learned that when we're combining a liquor and a liqueur, we want to use 1 ounce of liquor and just a half ounce of the liqueur so that the liqueur doesn't overpower the liquor. But when we're making a drink such as the Sicilian Kiss, which has Southern Comfort and Amaretto, we're combining 2 liqueurs. They're both super sweet, and even though they have different flavors, one isn't going to overpower the other. They're both really sweet, none of them are liquors, so we can use equal parts of those. So, when you're combining 2 or more liqueurs in an on the rocks drink, you can use equal parts. Here we have 2 liqueurs, so we'll be using a 3 count of our Southern Comfort, the flavor of which is peaches and honey, and a 3 count of our Amaretto, the flavor of which is almond. So we've got our rocks glass filled all the way to the top with ice. We need Amaretto, a 3 count or 3/4 of an ounce of Amaretto, and then we need Southern Comfort. 3 counts of our Southern Comfort, no garnish, straw, and serve. Sicilian Kiss. The next drink we're going to talk about is called a stinger. And the thing that you want to know about a stinger is, just like the term Ricky, the term stinger actually means something. Whenever you hear stinger in the name of a cocktail, then you need to know that means that you're going to be adding creme de menthe. Creme de menthe is a liqueur that is mint flavored. Behind the bar, you will have peppermint schnapps, which obviously tastes like peppermint, but you might also have something called creme de menthe, which is similar, but it tastes like mint rather than peppermint. So instead of a red and white peppermint candy, it tastes like green mint. If you have clear creme de menthe behind your bar, then you'll be able to make a stinger. So it is not peppermint schnapps, it is not green creme de menthe, but it is clear creme de menthe. If you have that, then you can make a stinger. If you don't, then you can't make stingers. A stinger means add clear creme de menthe to your on the rocks pour. So you could have a vodka stinger, a gin stinger, a tequila stinger. All it means is you're going to add creme de menthe as your liqueur. Now, just like with our Black Russian, we already learned that if you have a liquor and a liqueur, you're not going to use the same amount of both because you don't want your sweet liqueur to overpower your liquor. So for a stinger, we need 1 ounce of the type of liquor the customer requested and clear creme de menthe on top. An original stinger is made with brandy. So if someone says, I just want a stinger on the rocks, that means you need 1 ounce of brandy and half an ounce of your clear creme de menthe. But like I said, you can make all types of stingers, so we're going to make a gin stinger. So I need my rocks glass filled to the top with ice. I need 1 ounce of gin. And I need half an ounce of clear creme de menthe. No garnish, just a straw, and serve. A gin stinger. The last drink we're going to go over today is called an old fashioned. If there's any cocktail that you take away from this lesson completely memorized, it must be the old fashioned. Even though an old fashioned cocktail is not something you're going to hear ordered a lot in high volume settings, it is going to come up all the time whenever you go out for interviews. Before I had ever made an old fashioned in the real world, I was asked 6 different times to describe how to make one. Why? The old fashioned is just one of those classic cocktails that shows whether or not you have any experience at all in the bar business. If you've never bartended before, you will not know what an old fashioned is. No one ever orders it anymore, and you just will never have even heard of it. If you have gone to bartending school or you have bartended for any considerable amount of time, you will have come across this drink. Therefore, this is a great drink for managers to use to figure out who really knows what they're doing and who's just bullshitting. So make sure you know this cocktail. It will come up in interviews. It will come up on applications where bars ask you to write down the recipes for different drinks. Know how to make an old fashioned. So we're going to go through it step by step right now. An old fashioned is an on the rocks cocktail, but it involves muddling fruit. Muddling fruit just means you're going to use a muddler to mash up the fruit with a little bit of sugar. Whenever you add sugar to fruit, it causes the juices in the fruit to come out, and that's going to create a flavorful paste that sweetens the cocktail. In a way, it's like sweetening up your liquor without having to add a liqueur. So, to make an old fashioned, you need a muddler, you need cherries and oranges, and you need sugar and bitters. So, let's get started. I have my empty rocks glass. Notice that there's no ice in it. This is because I need to muddle my fruit first. So I need a slice of orange, and I need a cherry. I also need a little bit of sugar, and I need some bitters. So if you don't have this around your bar, you could use a little splash of water. You're trying to make a paste out of the sugar and the fruit juices. So a little splash of water will give you the liquid that you need, but the original recipe would call for bitters. So I need a couple dashes of bitters. And now I'm going to muddle these 4 ingredients together. I'm going to mush everything up until I basically have a nice fruity paste at the bottom of my glass. Then I add my ice. And again, I add ice all the way to the top. I need an ounce of whiskey. Typically an old-fashioned would be made with scotch, but regular whiskey can be used as well. So I would ask the customer if they have a preference on what type of whiskey you use. If not, just grab your house whiskey and that's going to be fine. I need an ounce and a half of whiskey. At this point, some bartenders will shake or stir this cocktail to get all of the sugar and fruit off of the bottom. So if you have a bar spoon, that's when you can use that to stir that up and get all of that nice, yummy orange and cherry and sugar up off of the bottom. If you don't have a bar spoon, then you could also use your large shaker and simply shake the cocktail. Once you've done that, you need to top it off with just a splash of club soda. That's a splash. We're going to garnish this drink with an orange and with a cherry, which makes sense because there's orange and cherry in it. Straw and serve. Old-fashioned. There's no need to demonstrate the godmother and the godfather because they follow the same format as the Black Russian. But I've included the recipes here so that you have them. Make sure to make flashcards. So that wraps up our lesson on rocks drinks. Make sure that you make flashcards for all of the drinks that we covered today, including the ones that we didn't demonstrate. Flashcards are really going to make it easy to memorize these drinks, especially if you don't have somewhere to actually practice them. Remember, flashcards work best if on the front you write the name of the drink and on the back you write the glassware, the recipe, and the garnish if there is any. With all of our rocks drinks, you'll notice that there are no garnishes, the only exception being the old-fashioned. If you like this video, definitely make sure that you give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or anything you'd like to say about the drinks that we covered today, then leave me a message down below in the comment section. And of course, subscribe. Subscribe to this channel so that you get updates every time a video comes out. There'll be a video coming out next week on juice drinks, so get excited. As always, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, rock stars.